All right, what's going on? You're listening to or watching Breaking Free Speech, the Breaking Free Skate Park podcast. And today we're going to talk about more than just the skate park. This episode is going to be tailored to the video viewer. So if you're listening to this, I'll do my best to describe what's going on. But I would recommend you sit down and watch this one on YouTube. We're going to take a trip down memory lane here. This is an episode I've wanted to do for a while. This is ultimately going to be a two-part series about the history of breaking free. I've wanted to do this for a long time. If you go back to our first ever YouTube video, I say eventually we're going to cover the whole history. That was in the vlog format. Now we're in the podcast format, so it's a little bit different. But I'm going to go ahead and switch my screen here, and we're gonna go over the whole history of breaking free. This took me a little time to put together. Today we're going to go through basically 2001 to 2011, essentially the first 10 years of breaking free. So pull up a chair, and let's just take a nice little stroll down memory lane. This is going to be a very BMX-centric podcast because that is my background. Although I have skateboarded for as long as I've rode BMX, it just wasn't my primary focus. And I think I have like one clip of me doing a board slide to fakie, maybe in 2007, maybe somewhere I could find that clip. I don't know where it is, but here we go. This is a verbal history of breaking free. I'm going to have a sip of tea here. I'm having Earl Grey today. So, I started riding BMX around 2000. I always rode bikes. I had jumps in my yard, little kickers, but that's not really BMX. I met this kid in 7th or 8th grade named Tom Molyneux. His name is going to come up a bunch in this podcast. I hope Tom listens to this, and I hope he feels flattered. So I always, I jumped my bike in my yard or whatever. I didn't really know BMX existed. I'm in math class, and there's this kid, and I knew he kind of rode bikes, but I didn't really have a real firm perspective of what that meant, And you'll see this happen with kids that come to the skate park. They think they ride or scooter or something, and then they come here and their brain is exploded because they're like, whoa, there's a whole world here I didn't know existed, right? So anyway, I'm in math class, and I look over, and Tom's got a magazine, presumably Ride BMX, because that's the oldest one, has been around forever. And I was like, what the heck is that? And that was my first little taste of BMX. So then I had a little bit of an inkling that there was more to it than just a jump in your yard. Right now, what you're looking on the screen is my first BMX bike. This is a 2002 Haro Shredder, because the way model years go, it was the 2001 bike, but they go always 1 year off like cars for some reason. And I didn't have this red one. I had the black one up in the corner. Look at that thing. I'll point out two things. One, the bars are tiny. Dropouts are huge. It's just a big, beefy bike, and it's left-hand drive. So I always had left-hand drive. This bike was in the Dave Mirra line of Haros, and he rode left-hand, so all his bikes had left-hand drive. So that is the bike. I had the black one up there in the smaller image, but that was it. Looking at the specs on the bike, you can see down here, the bike was 37.7 pounds. And that's totally a lie. It was definitely heavier than that. That's just what the manufacturer said. It was a tank. All these bikes were tanks back in the day. They were all so heavy. For perspective now, BMX bikes are 25 pounds, 26 pounds. It's 10 extra pounds. And going back to the image, the dropouts are huge. You had 4 pegs. All the pegs had these anti-roll washers. But one of the big things in here is that is a solid steel 3-piece crank. That arm is solid. The cranks were so heavy. It's absurd. Absolutely absurd. So that was my first bike. Moving on, It was when I was a freshman in high school. I was riding this bike, got a little dirt jump in my yard or whatever. I was kind of getting a little bit more into it. I would talk to Tom occasionally, but I was more into like the, how would you say it? Kid, they call it today, they call it emo. I called it like mall metal. You know, I used to go to the mall on Friday nights, had the big baggy pants and like the hoodie with all the band patches on it. Some bands I didn't even listen to because I was just trying to like look cool, you know, just really hot topic, you know. And my friends kind of sucked because everyone sucks. And as an experiment, I thought my friends didn't respect me. I didn't think they were really good friends. I said, you know what? For a week, I'm not gonna talk to my friends, and I'm gonna see if they actually care enough about me to, you know, reach out. So for that week, I hung out with Tom instead, Tom Molyneux, and he lived like a street over from where all the rest of my friends lived and hung out. And I know he had a quarter pipe in his driveway. So that weekend, I went over to his house and we rode his little 4-foot quarter pipe. My first experience on ramps. And that was kind of it. I was like, dude, bikes are sick. BMX is sick. Tom was really cool. He was much better at riding than I was, because obviously he had already rode. And my friends kind of didn't really reach out to me. So at that point, I kind of abandoned the friends who turned out to not actually be my friends. Kept around the ones that were. And from that point on, I was really, really hooked on BMX. I had to drop the baggy Janko jeans because you can't really ride BMX with that. And then basically that's where I was. I was riding my, you know, bike all the time, you know, trying to get the magazines. I didn't have the internet growing up, so I couldn't watch videos. There wasn't really videos anyway, but there was no website I could look at. So when I go to Tom's house, I would sit next to him at his computer as we would like go over, look at BMX content on the web, what little amount of BMX content was on the web in the early 2000s, and the magazines. And then he had VHSs. You know, I'd like stay at his house, little teenage Dave and Tom having sleepovers, watching BMX VHS tapes. It was a good time. So at this point, we're in around 2002 through 2004. Tom was working on his own video. It was called Jersey Bound. That I texted him. He didn't text me back this morning, but my presumption is it came out in probably 2004 would be my guess. And I think I had like a clip of me in it, not even riding my bike, because I was so new. I couldn't do any tricks. There's nothing I could really do. So like I'd go out with them and hang out with them. Him and his buddies that rode. They were dudes from my town: Joe Camparelli, Paul Byrne. A lot of people I probably can't remember because the video's gone. You know, videos that came out that long ago are unlikely to be on the web anymore. A lot of you guys don't realize that that now you have YouTube, and YouTube's been around for so long, but you know, prior to this there wasn't anything. And that'll tie into the next video. Tom's second video, this is again Tom Molyneux making this video. This came out in 2006-ish. Was hosted on Google Video before YouTube. Google bought YouTube and integrated it. This video was hosted on Google Video, and then when it integrated, it just disappeared from the web. And for years, this DVD was lost. And this is the first video I had a full section in. Before we go into actually looking at this video a little bit, I'm gonna give a little more context. So, I first really started working around bikes. Out of high school, I was building bikes at Toys R Us, among other jobs. Other things I did. Then I worked at Freehold Bicycles in New Jersey, which ironically was the same store I got my first BMX bike from. This guy, Jack Melissa, owned it. He was a friend of my father's. So it was kind of nice that where I got my first BMX bike, I ultimately ended up working there. I worked there for one summer and then got laid off because of how bike shops go. And then eventually started working at Planet Bike, and I'll talk a little bit more about Planet Bike later. But just for more context for you, I worked a lot of jobs. I started working when I was like 13, and I worked at there was a racetrack in my town, drag strip, and I did like motocross flagging. I did hospitality. I worked at an oil change for like 2 years. I worked at a supermarket for a summer. I always worked, right? So anyway, This is our first. We're gonna turn this on. This is the first video. This is produced by Tom. This is called Gutter Rats Pull the Trigger. I'm gonna link this in the the description here, so you can go and you can actually watch all these videos. There's a lot of, this is how BMX videos used to be. There's like kind of funky stuff in the intro, Irk breaking the rail. Irk is someone who will be throughout the Breaking Free history. He was in the same town as us. He was in this video and then all of my videos later. This video ended up having my first section of riding, full section I ever had. We'll watch some of that real quick. So this is actually the first handrail I ever did. It was on film. Pretty proud of that. This is actually my high school I went to. That was Manalapan High School in New Jersey. That's Woodbridge Skate Park. That's gone now. This was like the only spot in my town, this ledge spot. There's good stuff here. This is downtown Philly. I don't know if this spot existed too. We used to ride Philadelphia a lot. This is also Philly. And this is, we're talking... yeah, this is 2006, so all this footage is probably 2005, 2006. I could be wrong. Maybe it's 2007. I'm not quite sure. I wanted to show this clip. So I posted this on Instagram earlier, this spot in Trenton, and right here, hold this one. Boom. Bar spins. Did that bar spin when I was in high school. Still to this day, I can't really bar spin. But that's pretty much the video. Let's see. I'll just go to the ender real quick. I think the ender was pretty sweet. 360 in spines for me. There's another bar spin. That one was pretty sketchy. That was Incline Club for some of you guys. You know that spot. It's gone now. That was kind of progressive. The toothpick hanger grind back in the day. No one really did those. That's in I think South Carolina maybe. That curved wall ride is actually at my dentist. It's funny. That'll come full circle. We'll talk about my dentist later too. Little Washington D.C. there. So the background of this video is a lot of the footage came from one trip, one long trip. We did, and I did versions of this trip over and over and over again through my video productions. But no, we were just out of high school. We were kids. I think we might even still been in high school. Tom had a car, and we did like Philly, DC, Baltimore, Richmond, Raleigh, and Atlanta. All these towns. It's crazy. Loaded up the car. We slept in a 4-door Chevy Lumina, and we just rode all these cities. We didn't know anyone, and we just filmed this video, and that was it. You know, that's what we did. It was awesome. Look, how about that? There's a Extremes 1 clip in this video from 15 years ago. It's crazy. Another Rochester clip. That's actually where Tops Rail is. At this point, Tom and I, we had a little bit of a falling out. Some things happened. And then that's kind of when I stepped up to do my video, right? So at this point, like I said, I started working at the bike shop. So I was working in the bike industry. We're kind of getting a little more involved with stuff. And I was like, you know what? Let's make a video. And this is when I'm going to play this in the background here. This is, so my first video was Breaking Free GR2. And GR2 meant Gutter Rats 2 because the first video that we were talking about earlier that Tom produced was called Gutter Rats Pull the Trigger. So it was kind of like an homage, kind of like tying the two videos together. So you had Gutter Rats 2, produced by different people. And yeah, so we filmed this in 2008 and 2009, and it was released in the winter, 2009-2010 winter. So it was technically released in 2010, but you know, this depends on the date, whatever. And this was some of the same people. It was me, it was Irk, who I mentioned earlier. This is where my buddy Pat Quinn came aboard. I met Brett Taco in New Brunswick. His name sounds familiar to you. It's because his brother Daryl rode for Kink. His roommate was Sean Harrison, who was in that video. So he was in this video as well. This guy John Tomsick, he worked at Planet Bike with me, and then a couple cats we met in Central Jersey, around the shore towns, Paglis, Scott, Paste, Manzo. And we did a bunch of similar trips. We filmed for 2 years. We made this video called ZR2. And at this point, all my video work there's a little bit of an artistic meta aspect to it, where there's a lot of inside jokes. Oh, that was sick. It's Jake Hamlin. There's a lot of like clips that are inside jokes and inside references and stuff that, you know, us and our crew that did it would see this little like B-roll shot and be like, oh man, that was like this time, and you know, so there's everything has a reason, I guess what I'm trying to say. So that came out in 2010. I want to watch a couple of clips here. This is one of the most famous clips from this video. That's Paglis just dying on a rail. It's so good. Oh man, that's me smacking my nuts. This is so. We had such a crazy release party when this video came out. It was just absurd. There's just spots all over the East Coast from here at Pat Quinn. I'll talk more about Pat Quinn in a minute. But this is Breaking Free. This is the first product under the Breaking Free name, 2010. Well, I'm going to show you a couple clips from my section. This is a sick look back in Washington, D.C. And look at this Rochester clip. This is the old Legal Wall spot, which is ironically like a block from the skate park, a block from where I live these days. And I filmed this clip here, you know, forever ago. And this is pretty sick because I do a crank arm grind there. And that was years before people were really doing crank arm grinds. That was the local skate park, Sayreville. I want to look at this. This is Irk. Irk had the Ender section in this video. Again, Irk Carmen, his name will come up in here a lot. So I just wanted to watch a couple of his last clips. And again, I'm going to link all these in the description. So like, I really recommend you go through and watch some of these videos, because we put so much work into that, and it's really a piece of the whole Breaking Free legacy. Irk was the loose cannon. He was a madman, just jumping big stuff. It contrasted my riding and Pat's riding a lot, because that was the core me, Pat, and Irk. Just so good. And speaking of Pat, I think I'm going to go through and watch Pat's whole section here, because this, in my opinion, it was the best section of the video. It was my favorite section. Pat is a fantastic rider. He was really like progressive in this day. Like, and this might not look, if you're a BMX guy and you're watching this might not look groundbreaking now, because BMX trended this direction of like technical grinds. But at this point, it wasn't as big. And like Pat Quinn really was on the forefront of this style of riding, and it really influenced my riding. And we would try to like do tricks that no one did before and whatnot. And even in my first DVD, here's my last clip here, was a 180 Smith 5 cab out. And at that point in time, I mean, I don't know of anyone else that ever did that trick. And because of how crazy BMX is, I'm sure someone had. But to my knowledge and everyone I've asked, I very well may have been the first BMX rider to do 180 Smith 5 cab out. Maybe, maybe not. I'll call it as a claim to fame. But that was really inspired by Pat Quinn's riding. And the reason this part was so good is I knew what song we were editing to, and every time I was filming, I was like, I had a song playing in my head. And like, the editing is not amazing, because it's like, the first thing I edited was a full DVD. So like, I was figuring out as I was going along. Dude, look at that. Switch Smith, switch hard. That's ridiculous. 180 Smith, 270 Smith, 180 thing, like, sick. And as you're watching this, you know, you can see Pat is not the fastest rider in the world. And I really took it upon myself to make sure the way I was filming this, the way I was swinging the cameras, the way I was swooping around, to make his riding seem faster, right? That's what a good filmer does, right? And there's certain things you do where, like, at the point in the clip where the rider may be at the slowest is when you're panning the clip. And then you stop moving as they ride away. There's all these little things you can do with camera motion that make a rider look like they're going faster. Dude, that was a nice little cut with the music there. Like I said, I spent a lot of time on this video section. And I was so pumped to edit this, and I really wanted to make this look good. Dude, Ice to Smith to 180. And like you remember, this is 2009. Like, and like Pat's a little bit of I don't know, eccentric. I mean it in a good way. Like it was like, oh, I'm gonna do this clip and that clip, and I'm not gonna repeat grind combos. So like there are all these different tricks, and like I'm not gonna double dip on anything. And you see he's a big guy too, and he's got a lot of finesse for a big guy. There's a little Rochester. Smith to Crook to Swift Smith. Lucky 180. Backwards feeble easy 180 forward Smith. That's unbelievable. Forward feeble easy 180 backwards switch feeble hard 180. I think I had that backwards. Dude, big guy doing backwards rails. Like, dude, hard 180 out to boot. So good. Just so good. And here we go. Backwards Smith. Backwards. Sorry, I said it wrong. Backwards feeble, backwards Smith 180, Smith 180. Epic. Years later, Alex Kennedy in a cult video did that same trick, albeit faster. And everyone's like, holy crap, that's crazy. He's the first one to do it. And I was like, no. Pat Quinn did that first. I was there. Probably should have the video playing while I was talking, but whatever. So that was GR2. That was my first video. Just memories. So we were young. We were just crashing places on the weekend, just filming, and it was sick. After that, we had one video, which was the Breaking Free / PBBMX Spring Break road trip. So this would be this video was made over spring break. This was the longest road trip we ever did, filming trip. And PBBMX was essentially a rebranding of Planet Bike. Ultimately, I worked at Planet Bike for 7 years, and during my tenure there, I rebranded the BMX side of the shop as PBBMX. We had our own logo, our own stickers. Not saying it was a good logo, but we did it. So at this point, this is when we're starting getting to the point where I was getting the green light at the shop to have a team. Yeah, I already had the green light. We had a blog. We had, I said shirts, stickers, events. We already had to do this. And I'm really working up to the point where I could run a BMX team out of the bike shop. And this video was kind of the first one that I kind of showed the owner and everyone that, like, hey, look, I could do this thing. So I'm going to watch some of this. These are going to be this is going to be the ending of this video. And this trip was very similar to the trip I described in the first video Tom Moloney made. We did, Philly, DC, Richmond, Raleigh, but this one we went all the way down to Florida, and we actually got to ride with Tom down there. Tom and I had reconciled some of our issues. These clips are all in Raleigh, which is awesome. The street spots are awesome. This campus is loaded with spots. Tons of plastic benches. I love Raleigh. I was either going to move to Raleigh or I was going to move to Rochester, and I moved to Rochester. So it is what it is. This is one of my favorite clips I've ever filmed. Well, not the foot tip. I'm going to foot tip it in a second. What a sick spot, right? That's like one of those 6 spots that only you could BMX it, but you basically can't skateboard it or do anything else on it. But that was a good time. This is on my Vimeo page. A lot of the other stuff is on YouTube, but if you guys remember Vimeo, it's Vimeo. So that was just one trip. I was driving my van. We had, see this clip? Dave, Pat, Irk, Scott, Sean, Paglis. Those people were all in my van. All of us. In that one van, driving all the way down the East Coast. What a party. So that was that edit. Moving along, we're going to Breaking Free PBBMX Summer Edit 2010. So I'm going to let some of this play out, and I'm going to explain what we did here. So at this point, I officially had a team through PBBMX. So we were doing events, we had a team, I was getting parts from bike companies and distributing those to the guys on my team. And so what we did, I really like this project. So what we did is we filmed all summer as if everyone was going to have their own section in these videos. But instead of putting out a full DVD of sections, because this is when BMX is starting to transition from DVDs to web content, right? This is when the come up was getting really big, and the online it was about shorter content on the web. This is still way before Instagram, though. So the plan was we're gonna film all the stuff enough to make a full video, but instead of making a full DVD, we're gonna make one, 6-minute section that's all the best of the best, the cream of the crop, And we're gonna have a premiere for this one short thing. We'll do it on the web. This video, I believe, was released through the Come Up or Dig, but I can't find it anymore because those channels don't exist, which is crazy. This is really sick. Look at this Pat Quinn here. Smith Hard, Smith Easy 180, Switch Smith, Switch Easy 180, Switch Smith, Switch Hard, something to that degree. All 4 Smith 180s. That's sick. That was pretty good. Hard 180 backward Smith. It was really cool one. That's me doing the sponsor regrind into a 3 to Smith. Kind of sketchy, but cool. So what we did is after this video came out, then throughout the winter time, I made each individual section. So at the end of the season, we had a premiere, we had a party, here's the video, and then throughout the winter, every 2 weeks, I would release, here's Dave's summer remix, here's Pat's summer remix. And these are a lot of the same people that were in the previous video. That's Chris Lanham, a local. So there was a couple people added in, a lot more Friends clips because the scene had grown, we were traveling a little bit more. The biggest addition to Breaking Free at this point was Eddie Grabbert, South Jersey cat, ended up being a big piece of BMX for these middle years. This bowl you're watching right here was in his grandmother's backyard, so we got to just ride this pool, empty pool. It was awesome. So that was just sick. That was like really kind of like the golden age for Breaking Free BMX. From here, it kind of starts to deteriorate. I'm going to keep letting this video play out, and I'll give you the download from this point out. So after this video came out in 2010, a couple things were happening. People that I was kind of presenting, here's all these riders. Look at it. Some people were getting a little bit of love, so he's getting hooked up by this company. He's friends with this guy now. And it kind of split up the group a little bit. There was definitely some conflicts in personality. Nothing serious, but like some people want to do these things, some people want to do those things, and it, differences of opinion, difference of lifestyle choices. I'm making it sound more dramatic than it was, but just the group started to fragment a little bit. Some people were getting, like I said, riding with other people and had obligations to fulfill content for other companies or whatnot. So it was starting to split a little bit. And then in November of 2010, so this is in between when this video came out and the other edits came out, I knocked my teeth out, which was not fun. I'll show you a picture of that real quick. There's me. This is on my Facebook. Right, that's right. I knocked out my teeth. It was not a good time, as you can see. Not fun. My teeth came through my face, broke my nose, fractured my sinus. I knocked out 3 teeth. I got stitches all in my lip and in my face. And that was really not fun. Back to the video. Additionally, I was starting to have knee problems, which kind of resolved to some degree because after I knocked my teeth out, I didn't ride for a couple months. So that kind of helped me recover. The bike shop burned down in February. And then we had to move shops and rebuild, and I had like a PTSD kind of thing after knocking my teeth out. So in 2011, there was a lot less riding for me, a lot more working and other projects. let's watch the last couple clips here, and then we'll go on to the 2011 stuff, and then that'll be it for this first episode of the Breaking Free history. That's Eddie, the man. He's just the man. Pat, little Crook 180, Crook Threader 180, so good. So good. And then this is Brett Taco, just amazing rider, amazing dude. This clip is so sick. You love it. Dude, you just love to see it.
Not at all. My eyes are very...
So in 2011, I really didn't ride much. I focused more on working and management stuff, and I got into a lot more photo work. So there's not a whole lot I can show you because a lot of the content I did in the photo sphere that was on the internet is gone, which is really sad. I first had an interview on ridebmx.com, and it was like 10 photos I shot in a short interview, and that was awesome. And that was like my big thing. Holy crap, I made it, And at that point in time, BMX website wasn't a big deal. It was really about the magazines still. And I'll get to magazines in a moment. But that was my first one. And that was the first I established a relationship with Jeff Z, who was the editor of Ride and a photographer I looked up to. And so I had an interview on Ride. I don't even know the date now because it's gone. A year later, I had a week-long takeover on the comeupbmx.com, which was like the site. It was the site, the best BMX site. It was one everyone cared about. And basically what I got to do is do one photo a day for a week. So every day, one photo, and then I got to write a blurb about the photo, who the rider was, etc., where I shot the photo, whatever I wanted it to be. That was a really big deal. And eventually I had a photo series on, I think, BMX Union. Yeah, here. Actually, I do have that. So we can go show that. So hopefully the photo gallery still exists here. I don't want ads. So apparently they didn't pay their photo bucket, so there's watermarks on it. But we can just go through these photos real quick. That's Chase DeHart in New Brunswick. Wow, these are all going to be because... Wow, that sucks. So I guess we can't even really look at these. This was a 60-40 crook with Dan Deal. Wow, this is really sad. So I had 20 photos in this series, and now they're all watermarked. Vinny Crispino. Yeah, well, that's just kind of sad, too. Wow. Man. It's crazy, you feel like the internet's forever, but sometimes it's just gone. You guys take it for granted. You think about all that stuff you're putting on Instagram. One day it could just be gone. Oop. The online stuff was cool, but back in the day, the thing was print. And I was fortunate enough to get into print 3 times. And unlike these websites that disappeared, I have the magazines that I had photos published in, and I can actually show you them. So this is Ride BMX. This is September 2011, issue 175. And this was my first published ad. Show you that. That is a Chase DeHart Etnies ad. It's honestly not my best photo. Actually, I don't think it says my name on it. Yeah, it doesn't say my name. Because I sold them the rights to the photo. So they just published it and they could do whatever they want. That was the first one I had published. My second one was, this is March 2013, a little bit later. This is ironically Tony Hamlin's on the cover, Kink Rider. This would be issue 189. And this one, I had the inside back cover of the magazine. This is an S&M ad with Randy Brown. I wonder if I could find it on the web real quick. Because they use this as a print ad and a web ad. I'll move this right over here, drop it in, boom. I actually see it. So Randy's actually going from this bank, gapping over here, wall riding over this wall. And you can see right here, it says snmbikes.com, Dave Raffa photo. So that was my second published photo. I got paid for both of those. That was amazing. And those were one thing, right? Because the one thing, getting an ad is like, these companies buy ad space. They need photos for ad. My best one is when you can get published in the magazines purely for the quality of the photo. And this is what the last one was. So this is Ride BMX. This is November 2014. This is issue 204. And you can see at this point, magazines are dying. This is so thin. The quality of the paper has gone down. The stock of the paper is thinner. Like, magazines were really dying. But this one, I'll show you that there, is a photo of my friend Jeff with glasses. And he's doing it's like a 60-40 double wide crooked grind. That was shot in Trenton, New Jersey. I probably have the photo on my computer, and I probably could show you it in full resolution on the screen. This is a sick photo, in my opinion. Yeah, so we got like a 60-40 crook. If I could zoom in a little more. That's just sick. You see he's got his front peg on the higher rail, his back peg on the lower rail. It's just sick. Nice rim light on the flash. Hopefully that wasn't too convoluted and confusing. If it sucked, it sucked. I think this experience would be much better on YouTube than listening to it because of the visual nature of this particular episode. But hey, we're 40 minutes in on the basically the history of breaking free, and we're leaving it off on a down note. Well, it was kind of a down note. Knocked my teeth out, bike shop burned down, crew was getting kind of fragmented. At that point in time, I'd been at the bike shop for quite a few years. So we're getting to that domain where it's kind of like ready for some change. The next video we're going to talk about would be my summer edit, because the next video project is basically I'm alone. So that's a whole transition period. But that'll be on the next episode of the history of breaking free. If you have any questions or clarifications, please let me know. And if you want, and click those links in the description there to watch some of these videos we talked about, because they're there. A lot of and if any of you younger guys made it this far in the podcast, just think about that. Like, I have photos that were hosted on a website that the websites are gone. Like, I still have the photos. I can get them all out, and I'm sure I have the file where I wrote the captions for the photos, but I can't go back and show you that. But I have these magazines. I have these files for these videos. I own them. They're uploaded on platforms, and if they go bye-bye, I can upload them again. If you are a new school rider and you're just posting Instagram reels, if Instagram goes away, so does everything. And you might still have them on your phone, but your phone could break. So for the sake of, for archival reasons, I highly recommend backing up your files and hard drives so you have it. So when you might be 16 now, but when you're my age, when you're pushing 40, you can go back and look at these things, and they're there forever. And it's not just about the riding. It's about the friends. It's about your youth. It's nostalgia. It's BMX or skating or scootering or whatever. It's a piece of you forever, and you'd like to have those memories forever. So do that. Save those images and videos and whatnot. So I hope this wasn't too terrible. If you liked it, please let me know. If you disliked it, don't let me know. If you like the whole watching the video and talking about a thing, I can go back and I could do plenty of that with the whole sections. I could go through a whole video I've made and tell you every spot, where it is, what happened, and some cool stories along the way. but I didn't want this to be an hour long, even though we're 45 minutes long. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the skate park later.